shirt, he said, well, we can use it for a bonfire. Preach the word.
Excuse me?
As I was talking to some of the guys, I've been thinking about coming up here. I get to spend some time with Coach because the best thing Coach ever said to me was this. We were sitting in the back of the gym, and I was waiting for him because, you know, he always used to come out of the locker room, sit there and get his shoes tied and get ready for practice, and I was waiting for him one day. I was waiting for him because I dated his niece 3 times. And I said, Coach, I've dated your niece a few times. He said, I know. I said, Coach, you know, if it's a problem, let me know because I'll stop and, you know, it'll be done. And he said, no, it's okay. We were hoping she'd marry a youth pastor. Not that she won't necessarily need to marry you, but, you know, it's fine. And so thank you, Coach, obviously, for that conversation. There's so many memories walking around here. I get to come down and see Coach a couple times a year, and we talk and chat, and we talk in his living room. And I'm a Talbot grad, but I did the philosophy thing, but I still have 3 points, and they all start with M. So even though I didn't get my MDiv, I still learned a few things on the Talbot preaching end. The first M is motivation. And just sitting in Coach's living room brings back memories every time I'm there. I was ready to go to UC Davis as an electrical engineering major, and everything was all set, no problem. A few things happen. I end up here on campus at Biola. I didn't stay with Chris. That was on the night, yes, and I still came despite spending the evening with Chris. Colin Aiken took me to biology class, and I still came. But that night, we were in Coach's living room, right? His athletes, you spend time in Coach's living room. Pat makes some treats, and we spend time in Coach's living room. And that night, he was talking about eternal motivation. And the ability to think about not just the motivation of winning games. That's what most of us grew up doing. Why did you practice? To win games. Why did you work hard? To win games. But there was something different. And the eternal motivation was to glorify Christ. Whatever you did, if that was your motivation, and that was what you worked at in practice, and that was what you worked at in the game, and that's how you treated your teammates, and that's how you treated your opponents, then you win every game. You win on God's scoreboard every game. And that motivation that spills over into how you treat the people that you come in contact with, your coworkers, your family, and that eternal motivation of glorifying God in everything is what you saw in the video. It's why you live so hard. Not just to get on the field, not just to win a starting position, not just to win a game, but to glorify God because God's given you that moment. And what are you going to do? You're going to return it in worship back to Him. And as I sat in his living room, God said, you know what? This is where you need to go to school. You need to learn about eternal motivation. And it was so meaningful and impactful to have Coach in my life where I played for him for 5 years because I redshirted a year. And don't laugh at that. It seemed like 8 or 9 at the time. But then I got to coach with you for 4 years. And in the weight room and working with Coach alongside of him, I learned about the second M, which is maniacal work. There's a work ethic with Coach that's maniacal. There's a mania about working in the weight room. Everybody that's been in Coach's class understands that there's a mania, there's a craziness about working in there. And you just have to understand that following Christ has called us to be a little bit different. He's called us out of the world. He's called us to be different from the world and understanding what that work means in our daily lives and how that transformed us. Took my daughter on a tour of Biola with the admissions department, her first official college tour of any kind. And we were there and they were asking me, you know, if we found out I came to Biola, when did you graduate? 91, 96, and you know, I'm old. But along with Chris, you know, I had the best professors on campus. I had some of the best professors in the world in my field. And no class, no teacher taught me more about how to live my life daily than Coach did in that weight room, on the field every day. Good was okay, but was it enough to glorify God? And some days you have a bad day. A lot of days you have bad days, but are you still striving as it talks about 1 Corinthians 9:25, or 9:24 is running that you may win. Why? Because we do it for an imperishable wreath. We do it for God's glory, and if that is your motivation, that is what you're pushing towards, then you can win every day. The third M for Coach was, he taught me to be a man of God. When I got the information for Biola Soccer, it says, Biola Soccer understands that sports is a microcosm of life. And when I went to Grace Brethren High School in Simi Valley, I became the athletic director. The goal of Grace Brethren Athletics is to make young men and women more like Christ, because sports is a microcosm of life. Sports is what we do. So when we were doing sports, it's a tool to make us men of God. It taught me to be a shepherd. That sometimes is coaching, but a lot of times it's being a husband and shepherding my wife in a hopefully Ephesians 5 sort of way. It's shepherding my children, hopefully in Ephesians 6 sort of way. It's also then understanding that no matter what we do as young men, used to be young men, as we get older, is that we need to build behind us. In the book that Coach always used to pull quotes out of called The Edge, there's a story about a bridge builder. And it talks about an old man who builds a bridge across a chasm that that young men couldn't cross. They didn't have enough experience. And so he built a bridge that other people could go across the bridge. Coach, you've done more than build bridges. You've built bridge builders who then have gone out and built bridges for those who follow them. And the thousands of people who've been impacted by the small impacts you've made in individual lives. It may seem small, but they have exponentially grown. And I want to thank you for that. It has been an honor to be part of this community. I mean, when these guys walk in, we all were in the weight room. We all sweated and worked really hard for God's glory. You had to win. And yes, for God's glory. But then there was also this point where we were trying to please you. We were trying to make you happy. Because, as Chris said, you were like our dad. And we just want to let you know how much we appreciate you and thank you for what you've done.